What up, motherfuckers? It's your boy, the Hater, up in this bitch. And we're going to talk about the recently announced WWE draft. Unlike other years, the Hater believes that this draft will be a colossal waste of time. I mean, let's be honest, right? Every time they do a draft, what happens is eventually the two brands get combined into one anyways, right? Like, if you put a gun to my head and you said, name 10 SmackDown superstars, I wouldn't be able to. Maybe I'd name like 5 or 6 because they're always all over the place, you know? They appear on Raw, they appear on SmackDown, they appear on both, right? So what's the point of this draft? In my opinion, the point of the draft serves only one thing, and it's a stupid reason to do the draft, and that is to create a hierarchy of who is where on the card, right? The first draft picks are going to be the ones that we expect to get a push, right? Later on, we're going to get the Kofi Kingstons and the Mizes of the roster, right? The people that are not going to get a push, but they're there kind of like, in the mix of things here and there, right? The idea here, in my opinion, is to see where the NXT guys will fall, right? In my opinion, though, like I just said, it doesn't matter at all. And that brings us to our other point of the news, right? Where will Drew McIntyre end up? The reason I bring this up is because, as someone pointed out to your boy, Drew McIntyre has been basically talking about how he doesn't get enough money and he's not being booked very well. Now, I understand his frustrations because he is a former WrestleMania main eventer, so you would expect him to be making good money, right? And also you expect him to have a spot on the card. And he has a spot on the card, but the spot is kind of like in the mid-card, right? The question is, if he goes to AEW, what would happen then? Well, I'll tell you what would happen. That'd be great for the Hater. You want to know why? Because imagine Drew McIntyre next to Kenny Omega, right? You would really see the difference between someone like Drew McIntyre and someone like Kenny Omega. They would look like two different species of people. Drew McIntyre, if he went to AEW, he would dwarf everyone, including Wardlow. You understand what I'm saying? He is a big motherfucks. You know what I'm saying? So I'd love to see it just to really put the nail in the coffin, right? He's going to go there, and before you know it, he will become AEW champion. It's almost guaranteed, right? Because he's someone that you can build a company around, just like WWE did for a while, right? Now, the question is, would he go, right? If WWE's not paying him enough, I don't even know if AEW can afford to pay him, a commensurate amount. Money that he would be able to take and say, well, I did a better job here. Maybe he can work less. I don't know, right? Or maybe he can get paid the same or maybe even a little bit less and have a better spot on the card. So I don't know. We'll have to see how this goes. But the truth is, it doesn't fucking matter, motherfucks. Drew McIntyre already, even though I like him, I've always liked Drew McIntyre. Even when he was in three-man band, honestly, even when he was a jobber, I always thought this guy deserved a bit more. But the truth is what the truth is. His time came and went, right? And think about it. What has the Hater been saying? I've been saying the same exact thing about Cody Rhodes. For those of you that don't remember, Drew McIntyre was basically a mid-card jobber who was in a faction, like a loose faction, with Lashley and Baron Corbin, right? And what happened to that faction? They would go after Braun Strowman. Baron Corbin was like the real guy that was having a feud. And Lashley and Drew McIntyre were his heavies. All of a sudden, Drew McIntyre starts taking himself seriously and says he's going to win the Royal Rumble. Nobody really gives a damn. Nobody really believes it. But what happens then? I'll tell you what happens then. Afterwards, Drew McIntyre goes at the Rumble and eliminates Brock Lesnar, who was having a dominant Rumble. Then, at that point, you may as well just have him win, right? He ends up winning the Rumble. He ends up beating Brock Lesnar in like 3 minutes. Then he beats Big Show on the same show. You know what I'm saying? So think about that for a second. Cucks. Think about that. Because Drew McIntyre's push came the way it came, out of nowhere, without proper build-up, and more importantly, without a failure first, right? He was just a mid-carder. He didn't try to become a main eventer and failed. He just tried to become a main eventer and succeeded. And then what happened? He had, in my opinion, a not very memorable reign. Part of that has to do with COVID. I'm not going to put the blame only on Drew McIntyre, but the facts are what the facts are. Because he was skyrocketed to the top, he didn't feel like he belonged at the top, right? The question, in my opinion, always was, when and to whom will Drew McIntyre drop the title to? Turns out it was to Lashley, who also came out of nowhere. You know what I mean? He didn't fail. He didn't have that oh, he got so close and then failed moment, right? Think about it. The Rock. Think about it. In my opinion, The Rock's true push into main eventdom was in 1999 to 2000, right? He won the Royal Rumble in 2000, and that was his year, right? But what happened? That was also Triple H's year. So the main event goes from The Rock and Triple H to The Rock, Triple H, and Big Show. Then they add Mankind or Mick Foley for no reason. And what happens? Triple H retains. But it doesn't matter, right? It was still The Rock's year. Because what happened was at Backlash, after failing, motherfucks, after being screwed, The Rock wins. Then he loses again, right? Because he gets screwed, right? Big Show becomes champion. He gets screwed, and then all of a sudden we're back to it being Stone Cold's year. But what happens at the next WrestleMania? The Rock wins the title, motherfucks. The Rock wins the title and main events WrestleMania once again, this time against Stone Cold in what many people consider to be the best WrestleMania of all time. So, the failure is extremely important, as evidenced by Drew McIntyre, who did not fail and thus finds himself not paid enough and low on the card. Just like I said, fuckers, just like I said, Drew McIntyre, 2 years ago, WrestleMania main event, it wasn't 3 years ago, I don't even remember, motherfucks, but in the main event, right? Now, where is he at? Had a good match, no doubt about it, but he is feuding for the Intercontinental title. So all the Cody Rhodes fanboys, is that what you want? Do you want Cody Rhodes to be feuding for the mid-card title? If not, then there you have it, motherfucks. There you have it. That being said, I would want Drew to do well in his career, and I am looking forward to the draft just to see who they're going to presumably push. We're going to have a lot of Andrades and Humberto Carrillos in the sense that we're going to have these people that are going to get drafted up really high and then just shit the bed completely. So, there you have it. We'll see how this goes. We'll see if anyone gets a push. Hopefully some people do, and hopefully this turns into something. This is also going to be a good opportunity for people to come back, right? Like Randy Orton, AJ Styles, Nakamura, right? Where are these people going to be drafted? I would imagine that AJ Styles and Randy Orton are going to be drafted up high, and Nakamura is going to be drafted in like the 5th round next to Kofi Kingston and like fucking, you know, who knows, maybe like next to like Duke Hudson or something. I don't fucking know. The point is, motherfucks, I look forward to the draft as usual, but I will say that it has gotten worse and worse every year. So, you know, grain of salt, cucks, grain of salt.